Right now, your brain is processing visual details, shifting temperatures, the pressure of clothes against your skin, and the chaotic hum of background interactions. When the volume of that data exceeds processing capacity, the nervous system revolts. We call this sensory overload. The heart rate spikes, muscles begin to tense, and the ability to focus shatters as the brain struggles to keep up with the incoming signals. For most people, a loud environment is a temporary annoyance, but for individuals with ADHD, autism, PTSD, or schizophrenia, that exact same room can trigger a paralyzing fight-or-flight response because their neurology lacks the tools to separate the important signals from the static. To manage this chaos, the brain relies on its ability to isolate a single data point while ignoring everything else, like locking onto a friend's voice at a loud party while tuning out the clinking glasses and background music. Your receptors are hit by millions of these signals every single second. Since we don't spend our entire lives collapsed in a state of overload, an automatic hidden biological filter must be intercepting and deleting most of reality before we even consciously perceive it. That filter is a mechanism called sensory gating. Deep inside the brain, signals reach a relay station called the thalamus. Here, the pulvinar nuclei act as a bouncer, deciding which fractions of the environment matter and which should be immediately discarded. To measure the speed of this gate, clinicians use the paired click paradigm. They play two identical clicks exactly 500 milliseconds apart and measure the resulting electrical response in the brain. This monitor shows the reaction to the first click, producing an initial spike, the P50 wave. When the second click plays, the brain recognizes the redundant sound. It actively suppresses the electrical response by 80 to 90%, gating the duplicate data out. This data shows what happens when the filter fails. In patients with schizophrenia or PTSD, the brain typically only suppresses the second signal by 10 to 20%. Without that suppression, the gate remains open. Redundant, irrelevant information floods the higher cortical centers, creating a relentless and amplified version of reality. Psychological stability isn't achieved by processing more of the world, but through the brain's efficiency in actively ignoring almost all of it. If environmental noise causes overload, it seems logical that absolute silence and darkness would provide a neurological cure. Controlled sensory deprivation drastically restricts sights and sounds. During the first hour, the nervous system successfully shifts into a state of deep, measurable recovery. But past the 4-hour mark, the brain shifts. Starved of external input, a collection of regions known as the default mode network goes into overdrive as the mind begins searching for something to process. In the thalamus, a crisis occurs. Without external data to relay, the station begins generating its own spontaneous electrical signals. The cortex treats this internal neural noise as genuine reality. Healthy subjects suddenly report seeing vivid geometric patterns and hearing voices that aren't there. You don't even need total darkness to trigger this. The Ganzfeld effect proves that staring into a perfectly uniform field, like featureless red light accompanied by white noise, is just as neurologically devastating. Our neural circuits were not designed for absolute silence. If you do not feed them a reality to process, they will aggressively and dangerously construct their own. These extremes, overload and deprivation, force us to reconsider what perception actually is. Your experience of the world is not a passive recording. It is an active, ongoing construction that uses sensory data as raw material. To maintain its calibration, the brain requires a specific equilibrium of incoming data, a Goldilocks zone of noise that is neither too deafening nor perfectly quiet. We are constantly filtering out a flood of signals just to function, but that chaotic noise of the external world is actually the essential tether keeping our internal reality intact and our sanity anchored.